Welcome to Unstoppable AF. Unstoppable and funny. Why, what were you thinking? I'm Barbie. This is Karen, and we have an amazing guest for you today. Karen and I are both coaches. We are both empowerment teachers, and we both love to laugh. So hopefully we will bring you on another amazing, laughable Monday. And take it away, Karen, with our unbelievable guest, Jason, today.
Yes, I just have to remind everybody, why did we start this podcast? Because every morning when I talk to Barbie, we just have so much fun and we just laugh and laugh and laugh. And I thought we just can't keep this to ourselves. We have to start a comedy podcast. And so we are so happy to have Jason Frizzell with us. He also has a podcast called Talking to Cool People. And we are talking to a cool person today with Jason here with us. He also has been involved in sales in the corporate world, and now he trains people with leadership development, and he helps high-performing professionals accelerate their impact and lead authentically. And that's one of the things about Jason that's amazing, is how authentic he is. He is also, he trained at the Pit in New York City, and he has some really funny jokes. One of the things that I love about him is he'll tell the story about improv, but in improv, he just makes everybody just laugh and laugh and laugh. And so, Jason, thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for bringing your life and sharing about your life with us.
Yeah, Karen and Barbie, so good to be here. I do want to give you all one thing. I am a coach as well, and I like to disempower people, so we probably have some business sharing we can do here. I like to make them feel bad about themselves and send them back over to you to feel good. This will be a recurring business model. I love this.
Yeah, this will be fun. You break them down, we'll build them up. You break them down.
Like I saw Jason today. It didn't go so well.
You know what, though? He only insulted you 16 times. Now, if you think about the fact last time was 20, you are really raising the charts now. You are just flying up in his opinion.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's really awesome to be here with you too. I also love to laugh. It's what I'm most committed to, is having fun in the world, in my life, no matter whether that be as a parent, a husband, a business owner, all these. So this feels like a good place for me. We'll find out. We'll find out the next 30 to 45 minutes.
If you run screaming, we'll understand.
Yeah, well, yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, tell us how, about the Pit. I mean, how did you even decide to go there and get involved there?
Yeah, this is my improv story, which is also my profession story, which is, it's not a funny one. I'm going to tell the audience it's not funny, but it's true. Maybe there's always truth, a little bit of funny in truth. I had hit a point where I was just a little bored with my corporate career. And I remember my wife and I had been talking about doing improv for a long time. We were in New York City. And I remember talking to my friend Andrew, and he's like, oh yeah, you should just go take the level 0 class at the Pit. The level 0 class at the Pit is literally for people who had most likely never stepped foot into anything to do with improv in their life. And you are both trained improvers as well. You can probably imagine it was arguably some of the best classes I've ever been in, because there's all these rules about you can't say this and you can't. Yeah, Barbie was like, yeah, can't say this, and it was awesome. And so I just decided to sign up. It was 4 sessions, and I think it was like $120 total or something. And you walk in there, and it's just a group of people that are like scared, like, what is improv? What are we going to be doing? Are we going to have to tell funny jokes? And if I could just also share a little bit more about this story, this is where I met my first coach that led me to the coaching field that has me here today, running my own business, which I've been doing for 6 years. She said she was my level 0 improv instructor, and she's brilliant, because at the first break in our first class, after you've like been wowed by this teacher, Barbie and Karen, if you remember, you're like, oh my, that person's so funny and they know all the right things to do. And you're like, oh my gosh, you're like hero worship. And I remember her saying, she goes, hey, if anybody's interested, in addition to teaching here at the Pit, I also do this, this, and this. And one of the things is I coach people on what might be next for them, or however she phrased it. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know what the heck she's talking about, but I'm interested.
Let's go.
No, really. So I booked it. Yeah. So I booked a call with her, and you both know this. You're both coaches. She asked me a question nobody'd ever really asked me before and meant it. She said, what do you want? And I listed out a bunch of stuff and things and career. And she goes, no, what do you really want? Yeah, I'm sure you both. And I remember going, boy, I'm not really sure outside of the tangible results of it. Ended up working with her for 9 months. She helped me to realize I wanted to do the same sort of work. And here we are. Yeah.
I know what you said. You said, I want more fun in my life.
That was probably part of it. And
Yeah.
as the amazing Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld said, yada, yada, yada. And here we are on the Unstoppable AF podcast in March 3rd, 2025.
Here we are. Well, tell us a funny story with your podcast, with some of your guests that you've had.
Yeah, I've had a few people. Yeah, I was looking this morning, I've done 212 episodes and I kicked it off in January of 2020. So the first funny story I would have would be about me as a host. Yeah. And looking back on how I was as a host for those first few episodes, I don't even have anything specific. I'm just like, it's cringeworthy. It's like anything you've ever done. It feels like I'm reading off a piece of paper. I'm not really sure what to be. And I've always considered myself a pretty good conversationalist, but it just feels very awkward. And if you and the audience knows Tim Ferriss.
Sure.
Yeah. I was reading a blog that he wrote that he does the same thing. So when he judges himself, he'll go back and listen to his first couple of seasons of his podcast. You don't have to listen to the whole thing and torture yourself. Barbie and Karen, it's like going to watch your first few improv scenes that are on video. You're like, oh my dear God, did I actually do that? Did I actually say that? And just keeping yourself in mind. So nothing specific there. And then I've had a few guests. I'll never forget this one guest. And my show it's not as fun as this, but it can go really deep, but it's not an expertise show. And what I really do is I genuinely talk to cool people about cool things. I had this person who went off the rails and started telling me about how he invented some of these political things. And it started to get into like conspiracy theories and how he was friends with Nancy Pelosi. And it was very apparent he wasn't. And this person came on my podcast through a PR agent.
Oh, dear.
And this is a PR agent who spent me a bunch of good guests. I had to go back and say, I don't think I can air this. Not that I maybe don't agree with some of the things this guest said politically, but they just went off the deep end. And what did this have to do with the episode? And it was very apparent their whole methodology and talk track in life was to brag about how they had done these things. It was some policy in California that they're like, oh, I wrote that for Nancy Pelosi. And then it was like, and then they did this and I did that. And I was sitting in her office and I never asked him anything to do with Nancy Pelosi or politics or any of those things.
Oh,
And I've had a few of those. I've also had a couple people, which most podcast hosts have had. It's very apparent they don't really know what to do other than read a script.
Yeah, that's always fun.
I had a tech guy, and I felt bad because he was a really nice guy. But I would ask him a question like, "So tell me, what are you doing at your company?" And he would literally, I could tell he was reading off a piece of paper. And I wanted to,
it's like prompt or quit.
And I wanted to say to him, I hope you don't go on Shark Tank or have to pitch to venture capitalists, because I mean, it was really like as simple as like, hey, Karen, what do you do? It's like, I'm Karen and I do this, and I'm Barbie and I do this. And so, yeah.
So he knew exactly who he was. He just had to read it off a piece of paper.
Yeah, he knew his name, and then he was also had very, his public speaking style, and if people are watching this, was like this. So every time he'd answer, he'd move back and forth with nervous energy. He'd be talking like this. It was fascinating. I said, I remember thinking to myself, nice guy. Like, and I like people. I was like, he's a nice guy. He must be damn good at some technical stuff.
Well, maybe it was the first time he came out of his mom's basement.
Yes, absolutely. Or maybe Barbie, he was in his mom's basement.
Oh my gosh. Well, tell us some of your funny stories. I know you have some young kids, and boy, that can be funny. Every day can be a riot.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to tell this to anybody who has had young children. When we had our first child, and you, without getting too into the details, you're married. There might be some times you might want to spend some time with your spouse in a specific way, and you learn for the first time that having a toddler is like a horror movie. You both are nodding your head yes. You likely know what I'm talking about. You're both exhausted. Yeah, Barbie's like, yes, yeah. You're both exhausted, and you decide it's been a while, and you're gonna do whatever you're gonna do, and suddenly you hear the little footsteps. Yeah, you hear the little footsteps, and then for us, our daughter, you'd hear like the doorknob start to turn like a horror movie, where you're like, oh wait, and then the mood gets killed because was the door locked. And there was one time where she came in, we weren't doing anything, but I'm like, thank God we weren't, because she like snuck in when she got old enough. And so and our kids are young. Our daughter's 9 now, and we have a 4-year-old. Like you never hear or think about these things. Like, I think there's like, as parents, you intuitively know things are going to change, but then when you become a parent for the first time, you're like, oh wait, that thing we used to be able to do whenever we wanted, like we can't do that because there's a little like ghost that runs around the house.
Or that's just when the baby wakes up and starts to cry. It's like, oh
yeah, I call that is the yeah, babies are definitely the ultimate cock blockers, what I like to call them. Babies and toddlers, for sure. For sure.
It's a universal thing.
Universal.
I think it happens to all of us. And you think to yourself, really?
But I think
I'll wait for this, because you finally are sleeping through the, no, you're not. No.
I think this is also how it's designed. It's like we're designed to want to make babies, and then once we have babies, we're too tired and there's too many distractions to want to do the thing you did to make babies. It's like a biological protection mechanism.
I think so too.
Yeah. So
yes, I hadn't thought about it that way, but perhaps.
Maybe.
When my brother and sister would come to visit, they didn't have any kids, and I did. And I remember my sister said to me, coming to visit you is the best form of birth control ever.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
I'm like,
that's what my girlfriend said when she babysat. She handed my son back and said, well, I took 2 birth control pills. Have a nice day.
I'm like, thank you.
I can totally identify with that as well. I've said that before. Another funny story, looking back now, I'm thinking about this one. Certainly not funny at the time, and most of the people on the plane probably didn't think it was very funny either. 2 years ago, our son, he would have been 2 years old, and we were flying back from the Bahamas in the middle of the afternoon. He's still in his nap sweet spot, being 2 years old, still needing a nap. And that was one of the first days he ever didn't get a nap.
Uh-oh.
And we were flying from the Bahamas back to Newark Airport. So it's like 2.5 hours or 3.5 hours. And he decided, he decided he was going to plop in the aisle and scream for an hour and a half, no belt, no belt, no belt, no belt, no belt, no belt. And then he pooped in his diaper and wouldn't let us pick him up. I still wonder, and I'm curious from both of you. I know for me as a parent, when you're on a plane with young children, you got to be nice about it, except until you're not. It wasn't like he was kicking the back of the seat, but I feel like laying in the aisle was very close to the kicking the back of the seat thing.
Right.
Also pooping in your pants and not letting anyone
pooping in your pants and not letting anybody know.
Rows of people who were nose offended.
Yeah. That's an example of that's a funny story in hindsight.
Yeah, most of them are.
Yeah, parenting stories they're usually not funny. The one you're like, oh my God, somebody almost died, something caught on fire, there's poop, there's pee. Yeah, so those are a couple funny things from the family.
Oh my word. Yeah, boy, we've had some of those plane flights.
And, as a parent, you definitely want to be, understanding and everything. Yeah. But you do get to that moment where your nasal hair is all falling out, you're getting a headache, and you're thinking, oh, please, can you just put that baby underneath the plane with my luggage?
Yeah, I like that. The other thing I'm gonna, as a public service announcement to anybody out there who does not yet have children but who will, is you think you know exactly how you're gonna be and how you want it to go until the moment you're in the shit. It's like being in a war zone or something. You're like in the fight and you're like, you're like, we're doing anything to survive. Like we're just doing anything to survive.
It's guerrilla warfare from this moment
It's guerrilla
on.
warfare from this point on. You're like, and I'm guessing both of you, and I know my wife and I said this, once we become parents, we will never blank, 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 blank.
Yes, my favorite line that people would say to me, that will never happen on my watch. I'm like, oh yeah, right.
Surprise! I have a while we're here riffing on this, I have a question for the two of you.
Yeah.
Is that yeah? What's your opinion on young children in first class in an airplane?
You know, I actually never took my son on an airplane until he was 8 years old.
You're so smart, Barbie.
I didn't do it. And I don't care if it was first class or if we were in the last row of the plane. To me personally, there was no place I needed to be where I had to deal with that.
You're smart. Yeah, Karen, what about you?
Oh yeah, we had lots and lots of plane flights because we lived 12 hours away, and we did do that drive with children and almost didn't survive. So yeah, we definitely had to do the plane things, but yeah, we had lots of entertaining stories. I remember one time we flew to Chile with 4 children. One was a baby, a newborn. And so I had the toy bag, and I had the paint where you put the brush and water and it turns colors on the paper. And yeah. I had every book, I had every snack. My husband's like, what are you taking on the plane? I'm like, are you kidding? What am I not taking on the plane? And so here I am nursing the baby, and I've got my 3 kids doing little projects. They're sitting on the floor because in that big plane, there was room for that. All the other parents sent their kids to me.
You're the Mary Poppins of airline.
It was the preschool. I mean, everybody just like, go over there. It's so much fun. They're sleeping and I'm entertaining all the kids.
I do have one more thing that just crossed my mind. I have a feeling you two will identify this as well. You never, like, to me, ultimate dad mode when you know you're fully a dad is when you go to the beach for the first time with 2 children. And my wife and I used to go to the beach together all the time. And I remember, and then we have a place that we go to in the Jersey Shore. And I remember, and we didn't have it until our son was born. And I remember my wife said, hey, let's go to the beach. It's 2 blocks away. And we had a wagon of stuff. And I said, what is all this for? Like, and you have like, well, you need the tent for this. It's kind of like when you go packing in your first trips as especially a first time parent, you're like, well, you might need this, you might need that. I'm like, it's 2 blocks away. We don't need every toy in the house plus all these things.
You do.
Well, it's interesting, Barbie. It's funny that you say that because the way it's gone for most guys that I know, most dads is, yeah, we do. But then guess who's hauling their ass on hot sand with a wagon? Dad.
It's so true.
It's so true.
Jason, have you seen that meme where how the guy gets in the car? You know, he jumps in the truck and he's ready to go. And then how the wife gets in and she's got all the bags on, so they're all by her feet. And she's like, got the drink and she's handing snacks back to the kids. And my husband and I watched that. We just laughed so hard because that's us right there.
I have not seen it, but that is extremely identifiable.
I have not seen that either, but it's true. I mean, when you have a kid, if you don't pack for the Iditarod, you are not prepared for any given moment. So you literally have to prepare like you're getting on a sled and going for a month.
Or else you pay for it.
Even just going to the store.
The other thing too is I'll say to my wife is I'll say, why do we have all this stuff? She's like, oh, it's like the kids this and the kids that, and I'm like, we're going to Minneapolis, where Target is located, like the headquarters. Like there is like, my parents live in Minneapolis, and it's like my parents are like a mile from 3 Targets. Some of these things you packed that are heavy, we could go buy them at Target for like $3. Yeah, there's definitely a gender thing that goes on with that for sure.
I know. Speaking of heavy, my carry-on bag is kind of heavy, and it's getting to the point where it's kind of hard for me to lift it over my head and get it in the carry-on. So I'm always grateful when there's a man like you, Jason, that says, "Could I help you with that?" Because I'm also short, and so it's really hard to get that high up. And so the last time I traveled, the guy was like, "Wow, your bag is so heavy. What's in it?" And I'm like, a curling iron. I travel really light. I didn't even have a pair of shoes in there. I'm like, I had 3 outfits and a curling iron. I packed so light.
Karen,
I'm always so impressed with you that you just take a carry-on. I mean, for me, I bring a bag that goes under the plane, and I shout bingo if I can make the 50 pounds. I'm just so excited. Normally, I'm pulling out my credit card because I've blown past the 50 pounds, and I haven't even left my own city yet. So, forget these over. What are you putting in an overhead bag? Nothing. I mean, I can want a pair of shoes. Forget it. You got to get 50 pounds under the plane, and you're lucky if you can make that 50-pound weight.
Karen, I want to thank you for a broad assumption that I think you forgot my disempowering thing from earlier. If you asked me to haul up a heavy carry-on, I'm going to say F no. No, absolutely not. You packed it. You do it. You get it up there.
That's right. Oh my gosh. So I was in one of those situations where nobody was helping me. And so I was trying to
You're like, this woman's crazy. She's got a 50-pound carry-on. That's nuts.
I don't have 50 pounds. But anyway, so I'm lifting it. And so I decided, I know what I'll do. I'll swing it. So I get the momentum.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And I swing it and I get to the top of the chair and I'm like, okay, that didn't get very far. So I try again and I swing it and I get the momentum up and it's over my head. And I'm like, great. But the momentum carried past me.
I was going to say, I'm totally seeing Melissa McCarthy from Bridesmaids doing this exact move on the plane scene.
Well, I horrified the people in the seats.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
You're like,
sorry,
Barbie. Now I'm just picturing Karen, 4 kids, bags of like kids stuff, swinging a carry-on. People are like, who is this bee? And why is it like, we're going to call and get her off this? She's crazy, obviously crazy.
I know. It's a comedy routine every time I fly. Just with my bag. And then there was the time that Barbie had her arm in a sling and she was trying to get her carry-on on.
And let me tell you, my carry-on is a very light bag because it's just what it is it's a giant purse. That's what it is. I have the mothership and then I have the satellite that goes with me. So the mothership has to go in the top because I've blown past what I can hold under my seat.
Yeah, you have the bricks and the bowling balls underneath the plane. Yeah.
Right. Which I've blown past the 50 pounds on too.
But I have to say, I do admire you dads. I see you guys with the great big car seats now that, running through TSA and running to the gate. And I'm like going, oh my word, I never had to carry one of those. But
they're not light.
No, they're not light.
They're not light at all.
And the dad is usually the one that's got the suitcase and that big old car seat. But I don't know. My husband would rather have the car seat than the baby.
I can appreciate that. Yeah, I can definitely appreciate that.
We'll trade. I used to say, could we trade? And he's like, no.
Man, we're good at inanimate objects that we can like look at and pick up and be like not break, not actually really break, which a car seat's kind of perfect because it's made to withstand like 80-mile-an-hour hit. You can drop it at the airport. Nothing's going to happen to it.
Were you like most men? I crack up when most men hold a baby, especially if it's not theirs. They hold the baby like way out here.
Oh, you're so cute.
Right. Well, yeah, I just can only imagine with all the fun at your house.
We have a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it helps that both you and your wife like improv because you need to laugh when you got kids.
My wife is in sales, which is you're always improving in sales all the time. And coaching, as you both know, like you never know.
No,
I'll share this with you.
Yeah.
My first coach, the person I was mentioning, my improv teacher, I remember, I'll never forget. She said this to me. She said, what do you think coaching is? You come in, your client sets the scene and you have no effing idea what's going to happen for the next 45 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, it totally is improv. Cause Karen, if we were working together, I could say, hey, Karen, I want to talk about having a more empowered mindset around something. And then 5 minutes before we get on the session, I might have something completely different happen and go, you know what? I don't want to talk about that anymore. And you've got to be ready to roll with it.
Absolutely.
You absolutely do.
Yeah.
What comes out of people's mouths is often fascinating, shocking, and you have to play instantly on the switch.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, so what funny coaching stories do you have? You've got to have some of those.
Oh man. Yeah, I had a client early on, and some of the funny coaching is about me because it's, you know, like it's the same as learning improv. You think coaching is one thing, and then you end up, I don't know if pissing people off is the right word, but you're not really coaching them. You're not really doing what you know, like what coaching actually is. I will tell you, there's I think you two will both really appreciate this. One thing that sticks out for me is I had a client early on, and she wanted to work on being more organized and being on time. And yet she still kept forgetting what time our sessions were. And I am I'm a calendar junkie. Like if it's not on my calendar, I don't have some sort of communication. It just doesn't exist. There's too much going on in my life. Right? I'm sure with both of you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I remember this is a session is early on when I really knew what it meant to be a coach. And I'm saying, I've noticed that you keep showing up late, or like you text and you forget. Did you actually forget? And she's like, no, I actually don't remember when our sessions are. I said, you wanted to work on being more organized. I said, what, you know, like coaching is not, here's what you need to do. Is what can you see about that? She goes, well, I probably need a way to support it so I can be more organized. I'm like, well, how would that be? She's like, well, I should probably use a calendar. Use a calendar. So massive breakthrough for her, right? Like, oh, I should maybe have something written down somewhere.
and you're like, I'm so happy to charge for that novel idea.
Yeah, and I was not charging nearly enough for that sort of client. I'm sure you've had those clients too where you're like, they call it a PETA tax. I don't know if you've ever heard of a PETA tax before.
Oh yes. Yes, I have.
Yes, you have, Barbie. You're like, I'll work with Barbie, but she seems like a real pain in the ass. So I'm going to charge another 60, 100, whatever it is. And it was funny because finally she ghosted me in the best way possible because she still would not remember. And I asked her, like, what's in the way of you, like, having more support around this? How is this affecting your life? And she'd be like, oh, I can, like, my friends think I'm a disaster and I can't hold down a relationship and all these things. But she just refused to do it. And I found it funny / ironic / there's people out there like that.
You're like, oh, darn.
Well, I'm sure at the time, the funny part for me was,
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the funny part for me at the time, remember my first year in coaching was, I probably got super depressed about it because like, oh, I lost a client, even if they were paid. You know, it's like it all matters. And now you get on the other side that you're like, ain't nobody got time for that energy in your life, especially when you're the one having to receive it.
No, you saved a headache.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I know.
When you're coaching somebody, they actually have to, I don't want to say be coachable, but they actually have to want to change. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, that old joke, how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? Well, only one, but the light bulb has to want to change.
That's right.
It's really true. You have to want to change if you're in coaching. Why are you here if you're not going to make those changes?
Yeah. Otherwise, go take an online course or watch a YouTube video or go, and I say this seriously, go pay for $20 a month ChatGPT subscription and like read a bunch of stuff. And we know the reason that none of that works is because there's no accountability.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
How many, speaking for myself, and I would assert you two have also run into this, is your shelf help books. I'm going to be better at time management. So I'm going to go read a book you read a book on time management. How often does that actually work? People are like, oh, I read James Clear, Atomic Habits, and now suddenly I'm super skinny and a billionaire. No. It's like there's, and I say this to people. I say this to people all the time. I said if all it took was to be intellectual about something, we'd all be in incredible shape and rich.
Yes.
Because we all know what we need to do intellectually.
It's the gap between knowing and doing. That's where we need coaching.
Here's a start. Put down the donut. Let's start there.
Put down the donut.
Put down the donut.
Put down the donut and go invest that money. Don't go spend it on the lottery ticket or whatever the thing it is that, yeah.
Right.
Well, Jason, that reminds me, speaking of, all you need is a subscription to ChatGPT. So there's a new AI tool. It's called Bordy. And there's several AI tools like this, but Bordy is new. And you go in and you talk to it, and I had a guy, I don't know if it's always a guy, but anyway, there's on the AI side, I'll call it a person. So it's a him. And he's got this Australian accent, so warm, so friendly. And so I'm telling him this massive dilemma that I have. And I'm going through the whole thing. Oh, that's terrible, Karen. Oh, I can see why that would be so bad. And I was like, oh, this is so validating. Wow, I can see how helpful this is as a coach. You know, a lot of people don't have access to a coach. I mean, I lived in a rural place. I couldn't find anybody to help. Sure. I would have loved to have had that back then. I mean, it was just really, and it was 2 a.m. when I was having the call. Who was awake? Nobody's awake to have that call with me then. So as I'm going through and explaining the situation, the Bordy starts saying, well, did you think you might have wanted to do this before that happened? Did you think about this? You should have done this.
Oh, the should have monster. The should monster.
And I said, you know what? I said, you are making shame-filled comments. So I was teaching Bordy how to be a more empathetic therapist.
That's good. Since we're riffing on AI, I want to share with you and with the audience a couple things I've built for fun. I built a lot of things in ChatGPT that are really useful, and I built a couple fun things. One is called Mansplain Station.
Tell us everything.
So in case you two don't know what it means to be mansplained to, it's when a man explained, I'm kidding. You can type in any topic into it and it will mansplain it back to you. It's amazing. So good.
Barbie could have written that.
I built it for my friend Ellen. That we have this running joke that, like, she's a doctor. She's really smart. And I always like pretend to mansplain things to her. I'm like, let me just build you a bot. So next time you want to ask me something, so you can type in something as simple as like the weather, be like, the weather is when a series of when a series of cold and warm fronts come together, does this, and then it creates things like rain, and like mansplains it. That was a good one. And then there's one that I'll shout out that I didn't build. You can feed in any Instagram feed to it and it will roast it, and it is hilarious. And I fed in my Instagram feed. It's like, oh, cool, you're a podcaster. Cute kids. Nobody cares.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. I love the mansplain one too. Barbie could have done that. Barbie's an expert in mansplaining.
Barbie, you're a mansplain receiver or you're a mansplainer?
I actually am just a language expert on translation from male brain to female brain.
Yes, and she's good. She is really good.
What if that is one of my gifts is I think it just came from the fact that I was everybody's psychiatrist growing up. So I have heard everyone's story, male and female. And I learned very early on that we do not think alike at all.
Oh.
And so I am an excellent translator. I'm the blonde between two brunettes. I mean, I can literally explain things when you think I'm a wind tunnel. I'm actually interpreting for you.
The blonde between two brunettes. That's great.
Yes, that is one of her amazing specialties, and she is good. I think it's so interesting. I used to do this with my kids. I would say they get in an argument and they couldn't resolve it, and I'd say, well, what she's trying to say to you is this, and my son would be like, really? And she'd be like, yeah. And then I'd say, and what he's trying to say to you, honey, is this, and she'd be like, that's what he's trying to say. And then they'd realize, oh, and then they'd, be resolved and everything be happy. But sometimes we really need somebody in those moments. I mean, I wish I had Barbie with me in many of those moments.
I wish I had a Barbie all the time between my wife and I. That would be, we'd have a lot less challenges.
I told her I need to have an earbud with her in my ear.
Totally, yeah. Barbie, we're rolling. We've got a marriage fight coming up. Barbie, we're rolling on 3. We're rolling on 3. Yeah.
What you have to do, you text 911 to my phone, and then instantly I become available to you, and then I explain what she's saying so that you know, and then I'll explain what you need to say and how to change what you just said into, no, you don't have to throw dishes at me. This is how I really meant it.
I feel like this has definitely been done in some form on Saturday Night Live for sure as a sketch comedy routine. I mean, for sure, it's like let me bring in the third person who could translate the thing. That's so good.
That's me.
Barbie could have written the routine.
Barbie, I have an offer for you, or maybe it's an ask. Next time I'm in one of those conversations with my wife, which happens a lot, I'm going to pause. I'm going to say, we're both getting heated. Please call this number. Tell this woman who you don't know what you are upset about or what you need to tell me. And then I will separately do it. Then we'll come back together.
I will happily do that. Believe it or not, as funny as that sounds, I have done that and saved relationships and days of feuding for people that do that. They literally get on the phone with me and say, I'm at my wit's end. This is what was said. And then I will help you get through that moment. And I will fix it for you, because I know in the back of it, I mean, obviously, if you're destined for divorce, there's nothing. I mean, I'm not God. I'm not a magician. All I can do is translate. So translate. Yeah. I mean, if you're swearing at each other in Japanese, my translation is going to be swearing at each other in English. But the thing is, when there's actually love behind it and you want to fix this relationship, it's easy. It just, you need a translator.
That is an incredible skill to have.
Yes. I mean, she should be paid millions for this skill.
Yeah.
I keep thinking of all the money that she saves people in divorce court.
To get there, if you just had understood you were speaking Japanese and Italian and the translation was not getting correctly. It's like using Google Translate and all of a sudden the words are wrong.
There it is. There's your next business model after we get our situation set up is, hey, I'm about to translate for you. The average cost for divorce here in Illinois is this. The attorneys alone, I will only charge you 20% up PITA tax, 25%. Boom.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I remember reading the book, I can't remember what it's called now, but anyway, you just don't understand. And I was reading it to my husband. It had like little examples back and forth. And we both laughed so hard because we're like, that sounds just like us. I didn't know you thought that. And it was so helpful.
The number one way to get any man to do something is to just tell him to do it if they're your wife. You need to read this book, or you need to do this thing. That works really well really works well for me and my wife. But trust me.
And leave out the flowery words. Women, we can make a 6-word ask into a soliloquy. And it's like, my first thing is, they're lost by the second sentence. Just use those 6 simple words of, I need you to please. That's it. Give them the one thing. Garbage. Okay. Fix. Okay.
Garbage.
It is. 6 words can do this. You didn't have to spend 15 minutes on the ask because they're lost. You've gone into football mode. You've gone into somewhere else. You're now in your fixing something at work square. You're no longer, you're in a different honeycomb. You're lost. 6 words, ladies. 6 words, ladies. You can get anything done in 6 words.
Yeah, my husband always says, could you communicate that in bullet points?
Do you prepare your slide deck for him? It's okay. Now we're ready. Here's the agenda we're going to talk about for how to take out the trash. This way,
if you do it, when a woman puts together a slideshow, it's the same problem as the soliloquy. 6 words, ladies. Get it done in 6 words. I promise you, it will avoid so many problems.
That is, Barbie, that is a tremendous life skill for people to be able to say, You just said it in 3 minutes. How would you say it in 1 minute?
Yep. An elevator pitch. Learn an elevator pitch for every ask you have, especially with your partner. This will save you a lifetime of grief.
And the best way to kick off an elevator pitch with your partner is to say, I'm about to give you an elevator pitch for something. That is sexy.
Brace
I think we start with, may I have your help, please? Then just give it right there.
That's no, Barbie. That is a brilliant. All you need to do is ask a man who cares about you for help, and they will most likely say yes.
That's correct.
Because we are programmed to help.
That's correct. And you will go above and beyond to achieve that task. So if you just say that line and then give a 6-word explanation of what you need, done. I mean, literally, climb a mountain, done. You'll climb the mountain. I know you will. If you care about a woman, all you say is, I need your help, please, and 6 words, and it will be done. Build me a spaceship to Mars. Done. It'll all get done.
There's definitely a funny joke about Elon Musk in there, but I'm not totally present to it quite yet.
Well, I say that because my husband could build a spaceship to another planet from spare parts in the garage, but he will stand there and look at me and say, I can't understand how to use the washing machine. Okay.
Barbie, I can completely identify with that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Pull this leg, it plays Jingle Bells. We'll all work together.
We're all the most intelligent people on the planet until we suddenly aren't.
Sometimes it's my choice.
I was gonna say, sometimes when we don't want to be.
when do we learn that skill? When we're a kid.
Uh-huh.
We have a 9-year-old. I want to be independent. I got my first iPad. I can do all these things. I don't know how to get the yogurt from the fridge. Like, what do you mean you don't know how to get the like, yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
But unfortunately, as parents, we love them so much that we go get that yogurt every time. And, that's where things start to go unhinged. But I wouldn't want it any other way. However, I will give parents out there a tip, because my dad did this to me, and then I did it to my kid. He told me that he said no to everything I ever asked him, not because he wasn't going to do it, but because he wanted to hear my explanation, and he wanted to hear my debate on why I should be allowed to do it.
Oh God.
I know.
Your dad an attorney? Your dad was a lawyer?
No, but you know what he was? He found my explanations hysterical. I started explaining myself it too on why I should get what I get. And so it became a game for him. But what it turned out to be was, I'm an amazing communicator. And I really attribute a good chunk of that to, I had to literally outthink every situation to get a yes. Now, the funny part was the yes was always there, but I didn't know that. I just had to outthink him. So now I have to outthink everything. But I did that with my kid. And now as a manager, that's what he does naturally. He has to think his way through to get a yes on everything.
That's smart.
And so as a parent, it really turns into this amazing technique of how to teach your kids to be the smartest person in the room and to think yes on everything, so that you don't get discouraged by a no. Your first thought is, well, crap, I didn't do that well. How do I re-ask?
That's good. That's really good. Sounds like a lot of work as a child, but it's good.
You know what it is? It is. Again, you know what? You know as well as I do, being a parent, you put way more work into it than anything else you do in life.
Totally.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So, and it's,
we do, but hopefully. Yeah.
You hope that every parent is out there doing it. Or if you're not right now, guys, start. But just a little tip for parenting that might help you, because I watched the difference in me and I watched the difference in my kid.
That's great. Amazing.
Yeah. So it is a lot of work, but it's funny as hell. That's the other thing. The creative stories that come out of that. And, can I have ice cream? Well, no, not right now. Oh, well, there has to be a way to get ice cream out of her. So then you go through. The stories are amazing. But it does create thinkers. It creates really skilled thinkers.
I like that. And also a lot of therapy for your kids. My parents always told me no to start. Always told me no, or I had to explain myself, which the therapist that put in your, I have a friend, his kids are grown now, but him and his wife growing up, every time they complained, he'd be like, here's $1 for the therapy jar. And they had a therapy jar and they each got it when they're 18.
I had a friend
Like,
that did
you're
that
not
too.
fair. Or, no, you don't love me. You're like, therapy jar. Therapy jar.
I have a friend that did that too. In fact, when her kids were adults and they'd go back and tell her, you did this wrong and you did that wrong and it caused me this problem, she just had them $100 bills. Here, go take it to therapy. Yeah, I think growing up that would be great when they started complaining. Here's your therapy money.
Let's just own that all of our children are all going to need therapy based on how everybody in the planet, parents, we're messing them up every day just a little bit. It's part of the deal.
It's part of the deal. That's exactly right. Oh my gosh. We just hope that we're doing better than the generation before. I keep thinking of it like, and honestly, like handing the baton off. Somebody handed me the baton. They did the best they could on their race. Now I'm running as fast as I can, and I'm going to hand the baton off to my kids. And hopefully they're going to be better than I am.
I want to say one thing that on that note, I do want to say is, when people go, oh, they're just doing the best with what they had. I don't think that's true about everybody.
It's not true with everybody.
I wish it was. That's how it should be.
It should be. Yeah. And yes, there are some things, but then you look at the world and you go, that person is definitely not doing the best with what they've been given. Or that parent is definitely not doing the best. And like, who knows what their best is, but like, they're not even trying.
And at that moment, they're not. Oh my gosh, it's so true. Well, this has been so much fun, Jason.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
Loved having you on with us today. Anytime you want to riff, you just come right back.
I will. I'll be here. If this is a recurring meeting, I might just block my calendar, be here every Monday at noon my time.
That's the goal. I mean, like I said, Barbie and I have way too much fun to keep it to ourselves. And so we decided every Monday, we're going to start the week off right with lots of laughter. And
with Jason every week from this point forward.
Yeah.
This is it. We'll take write-ins. I will come next time with my mansplain AI chatbot, and maybe the audience can write in and we'll mansplain it back to them. And then Barbie will say what Jason actually meant from empathy is that da 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 da.
Exactly. Then we'll just have a great translation session.
There's some really good sketch comedy in that concept.
Oh yes.
Well, I want to thank you both for having me come on. This is a blast. It really is Unstoppable AF, and I thank you, and thanks for everybody listening live, watching us live, and thank you to all of you who are going to listen to the podcast. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging with us.
This has been a lot of fun. Jason, you were fabulous. All right, well then, if we're saying goodbye, I'm going to quote the great words of Frank King. If you enjoyed this, please tell your friends, please share, please like, please comment. And if you didn't like this, please, we hope you have no friends. Have a fabulous Monday.
I'm stealing that for my show.
I know, we love it.
We love you here on Unstoppable AF. Join us anytime you're having a bad day and need a good laugh. And we will see you live here next Monday.
9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. See you then.
Bye-bye.